What up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Jazzy Talk, where we sit down with event organizers around the country who are running Jazzy Ranking Events. And with me tonight is a representative from the Third Strike Bakersfield crew. Really looking forward to this conversation tonight. We have InsomniacRobot. And so,
What's up, man?
welcome, Insomniac. Uh,
Cool, man. Glad to be here.
and so, we are just about a month into season 5. Pretty busy start. A lot has happened already. We already have our first Jazzy season 5 finalists. Congratulations to Amir, longtime Third Strike player from SoCal, taking barcode for the second year in a row. And so
Oh,
back to back.
he put in some fucking amazing work. He did really good.
While we are on that topic, barcode, I know you were there, Alex. How was it?
It was super fun. Oh man, I think there was like 6 setups, so there was always a station for you to play.
Mm-hmm.
And if there wasn't, you just wait a game or two. A lot of high level players came out from everywhere. AZ players came out. All of SoCal. Fortunately, we didn't get too many of the SenCal players that came out. But yeah, it was a really good event. Real good event.
Yeah, from what we saw on the stream, everyone seemed to have like a really good time. All the matches were high. B-Tran gave Amir a run for his money, but
Ah, man.
Amir, at the end of the day, Amir was the favorite going in, and now Amir is a two-time Jazzy finalist, and so we look forward to seeing Amir at the finale. And speaking of the finale, you were at the finale last year, Alex. What were your thoughts on that event? Because it was the first time we had ever done something like that. It seems strange. Jazzy has been around for 5 years, but like that was our first ever official event where we weren't piggybacking off anyone, or it was just,
Really? Because
it was the
that was
first
my
ever.
first.
Yeah.
That was my first event, Jazzy event went to outside of Arizona. And it was so smooth. The brackets were just right on time. It was like the schedule breaks actually happened. It was no rush that I could sense coming from the organizer's side. And that's coming from me who had like I don't know like 6 months of running brackets, and I was very curious to see how you guys did it, and um, it was cool. You guys had a long row of cabs, and on each end you had a bracket runner and one guy in the middle. So like matches were being updated super quick. And on top of that, it seemed like those still people like throughout the crowd, finding players, and so they had the brackets up on their phone. Everybody knew who they were playing. They were all good to go. So as long as the TO side of things were ready, the games were like playing out really quick. So that was really cool. That the scene of being able to have the bracket up on the projector and players come up one at a time and call each other out. That was super sick. I know leading up to it, Resolve and I had talked, and he knew like, well, if this is theoretically the one time I get to do this, he's like, I'm gonna go big. So he called out Yuki, and he was like, it's win-win. He's like, I either go out playing the best or I beat the best. So he was really looking forward to that match leading up to it. But yeah, as far as the event itself, the venue is amazing. Just talk about the number of cabs there, just plethora of them. Um, Games ran until like I don't know 2 a.m. or something. I'm old, so I was crashing out by like 11 or 12. But yeah, no, and like my hotel is a walk away, so having food, drinks at the venue, walking to the room, taking a break, then going back for some more third strike for a couple hours, being able to play against these players from across the country that you either see on stream or you've been gaming with for like a number of years, and you finally get to play them offline. It's really cool. It's really cool.
Yeah, there were a lot of high level players at the finale, and it made for great casuals. great tournament matches. Shout outs to everyone who helped out at the Jazzy finale weekend. Looking forward to seeing all of you
Gonna have
come
to toot
back
my own
this year.
horn a little bit too,
Yeah.
because when we ran the random select tournament afterwards,
Yeah.
it was another opportunity to see these high level players
Uh,
play in tournament. You know, it may have not been the same stakes, but you know, it's either a team of really stacked players going up against a not so stacked team, but they have that one really good anchor and they just keep making it through the brackets. And
uh,
so that was really cool to see too. That was definitely a highlight of seeing these players from all over the country just like grinding it out. That was really sick.
yeah, shout outs to you, Alex, for helping run that was like the last side event of the whole weekend. We did the 3v3 random teams. There is
Ooh.
still a little bit of
Yeah.
controversy as far as I'm concerned about how these teams shook.
Oh,
And I
the
know that you
number
were
one seed
there.
team was
The only
so
the only two
stupid. It
people who
was
were there were you and Yi, and so
and if anyone is gonna, you know, put a put some contention to any kind of like team, being formed, it's gonna be and he
all
signed off on it. So I'll
right,
stand by that.
okay.
Use a random number generator, and then we
Uh,
just hit up all these players, and the number one seed was Frankie, BFG, Juan, and Resolve. And like just the crowd instantly
yeah,
boo
because I had
and
that was the
it
first
was
team I had to call out. Like I had to announce random teams and then the first team, and then yeah,
Frankie,
it
BFG,
is understandable why the
Juan,
crowd booed.
Resolve. Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was gonna be a riot. So someone at that moment asked, like, "Hey, when's it start?" I was like, "I don't know if it's gonna start." They look pretty pissed. I don't think this is gonna happen, but no, we ran it. It was still a good time.
Yeah, and it ran super smooth thanks to you, and we were able to get
Yeah,
all
I
the
had a lot of
matches
help.
on the stream because we had the two simultaneous streams going on.
That was rad. That was rad,
Uh,
and it was on a projector in between the two. That was rad. That was super
yeah.
cool.
So hopefully we can have more of that at this year's finale. Shout outs to Brandon and Ryan and everyone at Akihabara Arcade. Uh, I can't think of a better place to run something like the Jazzy finale, and so kudos to them for having such an
Yeah,
amazing
everyone loved
venue
it.
support. They got Winter Showdown coming up soon. I think they have a Jazzy
Mm.
Ranking event scheduled there. Shout outs to Cryowall, 2023 Winter Showdown champion. But yeah, so let's talk a little bit more about you and the Bakersfield scene. So, like, how did you just get into like video games or fighting games in general? Where did that all start for you?
My family opened up a restaurant when I was like in the third grade, and it was adjacent to a lot of other businesses, and amongst them was an arcade. And I mean, I'm like a typical '90s kid, so I grew up with arcade cabs in random corner stores, so it was around you everywhere, and if you were into them, it was always an opportunity, like just to like if you can sneak a quarter or two, you can go play some Mortal Kombat while your parents are shopping or something. So yeah, around third grade, they opened up that restaurant, and I learned very quickly that the longer my dollar lasted in playing these games, the less I had to be in the kitchen working. So I tried to get good as soon as I could. And so there was always an arcade scene for me growing up. And then I would say like around college is when I like started expanding into like other games and stuff. But when I was in college is when I really got into Third Strike. It was something that was like a cool like thing to like relax to, like just pick a character, pick a combo, grind it out, and then eventually taking it online. And when it finally works and you get that win, it's so you get that dopamine drip. And yeah, it definitely started from early on, but like around college age is when it Third Strike became like a big highlight. Man, and like during my college years, I was like super broke, and I didn't even have internet. I ended up getting the demo for Online Edition at my parents' house, and then taking my console back home. and then just like Resolve, only had three characters to choose from, and that's why I play Ibuki, is because it was either Ryu, who was, he's the same. He's in all the Street Fighters. Let me learn something new. Dudley, which made no sense because the button that would normally be a sweep, he's now like punching the ground, and that was just really weird. His overheads would come out when I'm trying to do it like the fireball motion, and it was just it didn't make sense. And so Ibuki I'd never seen before. You look up stuff online, it's a little bit more scarce, and the stuff that is out there, it's like super crazy mix-ups, pressure. So I was like, all right, cool. Let me learn her, see what she's about, and yeah, when I finally was able to get online, I was a couple months into it, and right away I could sense, and I was being told that there aren't many Ibuki players. So when you get somewhat good, then it carries you because people don't know the character matchup. So you can get away with a lot of bullshit. And that carried me like in Third Strike for a long, long, long time. I would say up until COVID, I was just a random online monster in chat, trying to hype it up, any event I could. I love the game. I was always about supporting the scene, whether it was like local, which we didn't have, so the next best thing was online. So way back in the day in online editions, uh, sorry, the name's slipping my mind, but you and Nika would put on these online tournaments, and you would have one for East Coast, West Coast, for PS3, Xbox 360, and the numbers were like maybe 5 to 10 on East Coast, and on the West Coast, no one would sign up, or maybe like two or three of us. And so even though like it was small numbers, like I was still happy to like throw in some contribution, you know. But yeah, once COVID hit, um, my online obsession really picked up, and I was entering a lot of online tournaments, um, and I just started feeling this fire of like we have to have something offline. Like this game is too sick. There's obviously a market for it because I'm always seeing these online tournaments or even offline tournaments on the East Coast, Midwest. They're always happening. So I just really wanted to start building something locally. And it wasn't until I met Anselmo through a friend, that it was someone else who enjoyed Third Strike, but even better, like was about the arcade scene, and that that's a dying thing now. You don't really see arcades. Um, so he was all about the Jazzy Circuit, and right away he's like, "Let's do this." And so we were super happy to have somewhere where local Third Strike players could come and you know grind it out. Because at that point I had like, I don't know, 10 plus years under my belt, and it's I knew the game somewhat. I knew certain tactics and at least what players to look up to, or look up online to get like resources on how you should play the character. Um, so yeah, having a little bit of the background and then now the hardware, we pretty much had what we needed to have a place for people to come out and play some Third Strike.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about the Bakersfield offline scene for the people who are watching. You mentioned Anselmo, and so tell us a little bit more about how you and Anselmo got this thing started offline.
Um, Someone I met through my friend, his wife went to high school with him. Bakersfield's a relatively small town, um, and so you're always like one or two people away from knowing someone. It's really small in that way. But yeah, he was posting on Facebook, and about having meetups for Super Turbo, Street Fighter 2, because Central Cali as a whole still had this obsession with little pockets for KOF, Street Fighter, Marvel, and meetups are usually, organized online through some kind of Facebook page, and even then, it's to some guy's house or some or garage. And Selma was like, "Yo, I have these candy cabs and versus City that I refurbish because I love arcades. And let's just play." And he was not really about charging or even hosting tournaments. It's just come out and play some games. Um, so yeah, I was like, I ate it up right away. Went out there, we started playing Third Strike, and he knew already about Jazzy and just what you guys were about doing and stuff. And at that point, we really wanted to go big. We wanted to see how big can we, get Bakersfield, Third Strike scene. Like there are these like little meccas throughout the country of like places to go for high level Third Strike. Brooklyn, LA, and it'd be cool to play at that level, but it's kind of a trek. LA's 2.5 hours from here, and flying across the country just to get your ass kicked. That sounds fun once or twice, but like I really want to learn this game. So if we can get some attention, maybe we can get the players to come to us. Um, NorCal has to have a scene. And if we can kind of bridge the gap between SoCal and NorCal, like we have something here potentially. And these Cavs are sick. Like this is the epitome of what Third Strike should be played on, according to a lot of players. So, you know, hardware's here. Let's implement it. And um, right away, I just knew like, well, I'm not good enough. Like, why is someone gonna drive 2.5 hours to kick my ass when they could just do it online? They've probably done it plenty of times already at that point. But I had come across this kid who I was told from a friend across the country. He's like, "Hey, you're from Bakersfield, right?" Like, yeah. He's like, "Well, you should play this kid. He's from Bakersfield. He's really good." So he gave me his Twitter handle, and I was just like, "Hey, I'm so and so. Just want to play some friendly games, see what's up." And we played a first to 10. I think it was like 10-2. And I was like, I was salty. I was like, damn, like I've been playing this game forever, and he's supposedly been playing the game for like a year or two. Like, damn, like how is it that convincing? So then find out the area matchup, look up some videos, and run it back, and he like 10-0s me, and I'm like, okay, like there's something here. Like that's not fluke. That wasn't online, because he's putting me these unblockables, and maybe I'll get the first two parries, but then he hits me and I'm still taking damage. And so there was always that little voice in the back of my head, like, well, if this was offline, maybe I could do better. But 20-2, I was like, that's convincing. And at that point, we probably played it a couple of times, but it was here and there. But once we had a place to meet up, and then we can play on hardware on these joysticks and have no lag, then we can actually like level up. And yeah, I think it was like the second time he came out, he went on like 113 win streak, like between like 7 or 8 people who've been playing the game for 5+ years. Resolve came out and just smoked everybody all night. He never got up. We had to turn the lights off on him pretty much. And it's pretty much still that today. So I knew that with the hardware that Unsoma has, the networking, the background knowledge of the game, with me and Resolve's talent, like we have enough to be like a little Third Strike hub, especially like something in between places, that have had a predominantly strong scene like LA and San Francisco, Oakland, but no one wants to make the drive 5 hours to go play the other one. So maybe we can cut it in half and have them meet in the middle. Um, and so really that's where like the office came. Like we knew we had everything for high level players to come out. I'm not good enough, but I know Resolve's gonna like keep up, if not beat you. I mean, I saw him at the Jazzy finale. The top 16 was a lot of pressure. And to have 50 people almost within arm's reach, like chanting every time you get hit like the tiniest bit, it's gonna rattle you. And so, yeah, I think with more experience, he would do a lot better. But seeing him throughout that weekend in casuals and in the team tournament, the random select tournament, like he's fucking everyone up. And so yeah, I knew that he's definitely good enough to play with the best. So through the Jazzy circuit, we could get the best players out here, or we could now have a strong network to go out to them and not just go on a random off night, and maybe get one or two players. Now we can go to these events where we know like there's gonna be a long list of really good players, character specialists, players who've been there, players who have traveled, players who know your matchup, who are really going to give you a run for your money. We can go out and play them directly. And yeah, I just want to ride that coattail. I knew that he's good enough to go out there, so let's go do it. And I'll get smoked, but it'll be pretty sick to see someone else from Bakersfield kick their ass. So yeah, that's where the core of like the Bakersfield third strike scene came from. We had the resources, we just kind of put them all together, and we just took a stab at entering the Jazzy circuit and putting our name out there. I think we did pretty good. And then with the criteria that we had to meet for the Jazzy circuit, none of us could really hold down the stream. So that's where like our fourth key member comes in, Para, where he's the guy who does all the streaming stuff for us. At our very first event, we actually had to run it off a hotspot. The venue last second didn't give us the Wi-Fi password, and then when they did give it to us, there was tons of vendors there using the Wi-Fi password because it left the Bakersfield Comic Con, so it was running like dog shit. So we ended up using Anselmo's phone. He hotspotted it, and Para got the stream to work really well for given the circumstances. There was no buffering. Audio was clear. His audio was so sick. There was so many people around us talking, yelling. There's music and all this other stuff, but you could hardly hear it. If anything, his mic was so sick, and you could only really hear our audio during the commentary. So without him, like we would have like fallen flat on our face on our first event, and we had Phil who Renob who drove all the way out from San Diego, and that's like almost a 6 hour drive. So he left at 5 a.m. With Spiegel, and they were there at 10 a.m. The tournament started at 3 or something, and he was there playing all day. And I had known him online before then. He was going by Jamboree way back in the online edition days, and um, he played in Coop and did really well. So this guy's like exactly what we were looking for. We're throwing our own event, and now we're getting these big name players that come out. And Paro really like saved us last second. Made it worth his trip to come out, and he was now getting Jazzy points. And so that was pretty sick. At the end of it, it kind of really sank in that like holy shit, like we met all the criteria, we got the big name players out, just all beat him. Um, and yeah, it was a success. So it was pretty sick.
Yeah, that's a pretty amazing story how you guys came together and just developed this scene, and now, like you said, look where all of you guys are, and so really awesome work that you're doing out there. Uh, Tell me more about what it's like to, yeah, just like be in the FGC, like in Central California. Like, is it, as someone who grew up in SoCal, uh, I found my way out in those parts once or twice, and then you have NorCal, different vibe. Like, what is it like? How would you
Okay.
describe
Yeah,
like Central Cal
real good
FGC? And
question.
yeah,
I grew up in the arcade scene, but I was still too young to actually travel out to these bigger cities, bigger events, and they were flying way over my head. I didn't know about Battle in the Bay or any of that. Um, so I can't really say what their scenes were like back in the day, but I will say this. I think it was part of our local scene that made me not play fighting games for a long time. When Marvel 2 came out, I was not used to infinites, and I really wanted to make my money last. The longer that lasted, the less I was in the kitchen, busting my ass. So I didn't like playing games where I would get hit once, I would get juggled forever, and then I would lose, as there was no chance to learn there, unless I go buy the game, um, and potentially the console, because at that point, the game in particular is Marvel 2. Um, at that point, I didn't have a Dreamcast. I'm gonna have to buy a Dreamcast, buy the game, and I can lab it out. And the whole time it's these like college age kids, and I'm like in junior high, is talking mad shit the whole time they're juggling you. Um, so I was like, nah, that's not for me. Let me find some other games, and so playing N64 or whatever. But when we were doing our stuff locally, I had already gone out to a couple of meetups here and there for Ultimate Marvel 3, and the scene was not hostile. It's the complete reverse. They were very quiet. They weren't very welcoming or engaging. It was the same handful of people that were there that, from previous meetups. So they all knew each other, but they didn't really know how to engage newcomers. So I'm standing there waiting to play my turn, and I'm assuming they're playing a set. But next, like one guy has like 12 wins, and I'm like, hey, do you guys mind if I hop in? Like, oh yeah, sure. And I was like, oh damn, unless I spoke up, wouldn't have played. I was just gonna sit there with my thumb up my ass, Glad I paid the venue fee for this. Um, and at that point I was into online edition, and so I'm like, hey, do you guys want to play Third Strike? Oh, it's a dead game. It's only Chun, it's only Ken. Well, I don't play either one. Do you want to play? And you play Nabuki, I've been grinding out. They're like, what the fuck? This game isn't fun. You keep parrying everything I throw. I was like, what's the point of anti-airing you if we can just parry it? And it's just like, all right. And so it was kind of like this uphill battle.
Hmm.
And that was like pre-COVID. And so by the time Anselmo and I started like trying to promote people coming out, the local scene was dying. People weren't paying money to go somewhere else where they have to wear masks and all this when they can just play the same game at home and play with their friends online. So that idea of having like a brick and mortar location for gaming, it was dying here in Bakersfield. And really, the only thing they were hanging on to were these intermittent events at like the Bakersfield Comic Con, or maybe even traveling out to Evo and getting, some kind of kickback there to like help keep their passion project going. But when we came about, Anselmo already had the hardware. We weren't paying venue fees. We were just hanging out, having beers, playing Third Strike. So it was always just a kickback. And when we wanted to enter the Jazzy League, we started off the Bakersfield Comic Con because, frankly, they were willing to like pitch us some dough to haul these cabs, set it up, and so we are like, cool. Now we got the space because office is very small. Um, and yeah, so right away we knew like, okay, there's a lot of people that are really into this. A lot of people came out. We met a lot of new people that say they want to come out, telling us, we need this locally, so where else can we go? And luckily at that time, Anselmo's really good friend took ownership of this pretty well-known bar here in Bakersfield called Narducci's, and it had been closed down for a minute. So when it was open again, people were really excited, and he has like ties to like the local music scene. So, going back to that grassroots and, marketing, meeting people and engaging them so they can come out, keep coming out. Um, right away, people, were finding out about us. And our first tournament, like, even though we only had like 22-ish people, we had probably like another 40 people that were there just to have drinks and have food and watch us, or more so have like watch the games and play some other games off to the side, because it wasn't just Third Strike. We had like 3 or 4 setups for Third Strike, but then we had like Bubble Bobble or some like um it's almost gonna kill me. I gotta Tunithum. It's some awesome rhythm game from Japan where apparently there's like only one of 6 in America, and Anselmo has one, and he had to set up a Japanese VPN so you can get the music on it, and it's super sick. It's a bitch to move. But we just had a ton of other games there, so it was like this little pop-up arcade, and people ate it up right away. And it was like $5 to come in for free play. Like we weren't really our our emphasis was the Jazzy Circuit. Like we wanted to like have the Third Strike scene, and so like all these other little like games that were people like were playing and having fun, and that was actually drawing them out. That was just like secondhand to us. We were really there for like Third Strike. So people were really enjoying it and they were asking for more games. And yeah, and I'm very engaging. I have no problem walking up to someone, introducing them and seeing like, hey, if you're here for games or you're here for free play, cool. Help them register and do all that other stuff. But right away, you're telling people how like, yeah, we have players from LA, San Diego, Visalia, Tulare, which is like almost 2 hours north of us, and they're all coming out. They all compete and stuff, and people are like, excited to see how it plays out. They stay for the full tournament. They want to see who wins. They start following us on Instagram. They want to like keep up and stuff. So like right away, we could tell that locally, like people wanted it, and so we didn't have to have an ego having these events. It was just people hanging out playing Third Strike, whether there were other people there or not, we were going to still be having these events, um so yeah, like going back to your question as far as like how like what the vibe is like to in our FGC, it's super friendly. We don't have egos here. We don't it's probably because we don't have that history that people feel like they have to hold on to as like I'm the best in this character or this game, I won this championship or whatever. Like we never had that. So we're still in that phase where we want to grow. So there's really no room for egos here.
Speaking of Jazzy, you started running Jazzy events last season, and you just got done with your first season 5 event this past weekend. And so, just wanted to get your thoughts on season 5, and now that we are a month removed into the season. And so, yeah, what do you think so far about the roadmap and some of the things that
Yeah,
we
it's
did?
exciting. It's hard to argue that the online play is definitely what helped keep Third Strike alive. Um, it may have not always been best for one reason or another, but people loved the game and they were still willing to play it one way or another. And I think it just made sense to incorporate online play one way or another because then we get to finally see, like if it is just online, and if it's not, and you get to see it offline, then it just kind of solidifies that like it's a viable option for Third Strike. It's we shouldn't turn our nose and poo-poo it because it's not Japanese hardware. Even though I am fortunate enough to have that luxury at our locals, you know, that was always the like chirping as to what is keeping people from playing. Well, I'm not gonna play if I'm not playing on a cap. Then who like you're just doing yourself an injust like a disservice. You're not letting yourself like be open to going out there, meeting new people and meeting new places, and realizing that there's more to it than just a game. Like, so having like the Jazzy rules like ease up, I guess you could say in a sense, um, allowing like other forms of hardware of the game to be like played, it just allows the scene to grow. And so I think it's a really cool, really good move, and it'll help the scene grow. And personally, I'm really excited to see who wins it from the online points because it's gonna be like them repping the online player, and it's gonna be cool to see an online player play offline. Um, but I mean, at the looks of it, like just speak frankly, like Nika's probably gonna win every event he enters online, and if he's the online player, like it it's gonna be funny to me. But just because he's so OG, but someone like Neem, like if he happens to win it, I personally don't know him And from like a more casual, I guess you could say, perspective, I don't know of him taking these like big tournaments across the country or having flown to Japan to play in Coop. And so having an outlet for him to play and potentially win a trip to Colorado and play offline amongst all these other godlike Third Strike players and see how he does, that would be really sick. So I think that's another real cool thing about the rule changes is that, and now when offline players do happen to make it to these offline events, we get to see how they perform, and that'd be pretty cool.
Your story is kind of related to some of the changes we made this season.
I'm
Because
sure,
you
I'm
started
sure,
online, right? And
I'm
then
sure.
because of your experience online, you went out and wanted to try to start a scene offline, and so the pipeline can
Yeah,
go in reverse.
yeah, for
Definitely.
sure. And I don't doubt that our scene had a little bit to do with some of the rule changes because when we started putting like all this together and we're like, okay, cool, we're now part of the Jazzy Circuit. I knew Rizal was good enough to play amongst the best. At that point, Steelhammer had signed off on him, and he like the Escape from Mongolia series was already out. So he has someone of high reputation in the Third Strike scene backing him. Um, So I knew right away, like, this guy's getting to play amongst the best. So I asked, like, are you down, like, play in Colorado in the finale? And yeah, he was open to it, but he had a couple of things that may have kept him from going. Um, but when we looked at the way it was outlined, I told him like, well, in theory, you could either win an event or you can win enough points and you can get the invite. And at that point, it was still early in the season, and if we met the criteria and we got him points, um, we could do it. Another reason is
I think we're having some technical difficulties here with Alex's mic and feed, and so hopefully that gets cleared up. Yeah, there it goes. Well, while we wait for, oh wait, I think Alex is coming back now. I see Discord thinking. There you go.
sorry about that.
No worries.
So I'm not
So
sure where I lost
yeah,
you.
I think we're good now though. Yeah, maybe not. Yeah, I think the feed is still going in and out here.
Uh,
You have to turn off your OneDrive, Alex. All right. So while we wait for Alex to sort all that out, speaking of events, online events, later tonight in just a few minutes, we have the final Jazzy online event for January, the Illuminati first ever Jazzy online event hosted by Riz1 from Super Lore Boys. I see Riz in the chat. Shout outs to Riz. Thank you for helping us out with the online part of season 5. And I think we are at MSF. Not sure. But check out all the action. Twitch.tv/Riz1. And yeah, I think it's going to be a really sick tournament. The last two tournaments were really entertaining. Lots of high level play. And I don't expect anything different from tonight's tournament. And yeah, who do you got, Alex? I don't know if you know everyone that's entered in the tournament, but I guess, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Any of those guys
Yeah.
win.
Yes.
They're all.
Yeah. The tournament's super
Oh
stacked.
no.
Yeah. We have some questions in the chat. Gizmo XX says this might be a silly question. Could anyone enter these tournaments? Yes, Gizmo. Everyone is free to enter these tournaments. Uh, the online events are all free to enter. And I think we may have released a schedule for February already. Definitely will get those to you out of order. Appreciate it. And so I think we have Alex back. Do we have you back, Alex? Sort of. Not really.
I
Okay.
think so. We'll see
Okay,
how
there
long
you
it
go.
lasts. Sorry about that, man.
No worries, no worries. We're just trying to hype up the Riz One event later tonight. And so, speaking of the standings, here are your current standings for the Jazzy Online tournament. Two players, the two players that earn the most points, get the spot in the 16-player Jazzy finale. And so, if the season were to end today, actually pretty interesting because Neem and Boa are tied for second. And so we have some tiebreakers. Forgive me, I don't know them offhand, but you could check them out in the season terms and conditions for anyone who wants to run a offline event or a Jazzy Ranking event. And so, yeah, the
But
season is heating up. There are players that are uh, gaining points, jockeying for position, and so it looks to be an exciting start to the season. And so I think we still have Alex with the technical difficulties, but no worries. Maybe we'll try to get that sorted out. Can you hear us again, Alex?
I can hear you.
Okay, great. Yeah, the video's a little choppy, but as long as we have the audio, that should be good. But again, tonight, Illuminati event's looking pretty sick. Go ahead and take a look at the bracket here, maybe. And so it's going to start actually in just a few minutes, about 20 minutes, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. If you want to check out the bracket, you can go to start.gg/jazzylore. And so here's the Start GG page for the event. So we have 52 attendees. And so we are officially at MSF tier. Alex is going to be worth the maximum points. A ton of players. And so shout
That's sick.
outs to all the players that
Sick.
are entering Jazzy Online and trying to grind for those points. Players I recognize from all different regions.
Shout out Final Jacket.
Yeah. And so, yeah, looks to be a really cool tournament. Again, a lot of high level players. And we got Artaze. Oh,
Taste. Okay.
I
Sick.
have work early in the morning, Alex, but I may stay up to see Artaze. Riz, we have to stream Artaze's match, please. We have to see Artaze making his Jazzy debut. The Necro God.
No way, really?
Speaking of lore, the Necro God. Hey, the proof is in the pudding.
Yeah.
Proof is in the pudding.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So
Oh my.
yeah, we're about out of time here for tonight's Jazzy Talk. But just wanted to thank you again, Alex, for coming on the show and telling everyone a little
Yeah.
bit more about the Bakersfield Third Strike crew. And so, yeah, for anyone who's listening and thinking of checking out your new Third Strike scene that you and Anselmo have, done an amazing job creating out there, what do they need to know? How do they get in touch with you?
I would say the best way of reaching us is going to be on Instagram. Instagram / The Office Arcade. our Twitch is Twitch/The Office Arcade. Um, or you could just DM me on Twitter at Larusa Stomper or yeah, Larusa_Stomper. Um, yeah, I'm usually on there tagging Third Strike, this, that, and the other. So if you follow Third Strike hashtag, chances are you'll probably come across our stuff. But yeah, we have a Discord as well. So yeah, we're always welcoming. We always want to have high level players come out, of course, but new players, we're super happy um, to break down the game a little bit more that you would learn from just playing by yourself um, on these random arcade matches with no audio. So now you get to see why this reversal is always hitting, or what a better combo that you could do with more damage or with a better setup. So yeah, it's doors are always open. Certain hours. Anselmo is a family man, so he has to go home by like 8 or 9 o'clock sometimes. But outside of that, we'll be having our events on Saturdays now, so we can accommodate people coming in from out of town. A lot of the times in the past, our events were just, we're the only date available for these venues. So now this season, we're going to be having them at the office. So we'll be able to open the doors a little bit longer, and yeah, so it'll be fun. On out.
Awesome, awesome. And so your next Jazzy ranking event is going to be, I believe, on February 24th.
Yes, yes. I believe the start time is 5 o'clock. I don't know. It could be 3 o'clock. Um, but either way, it'll be the venue. The venue itself will be open earlier, so we'll be able to get a couple casual games in. We're gonna cap the player entry at 24, I believe, so that way we can not only keep the tournament flowing, but that way everyone's not waiting forever to get games in, and it's pretty small venue, like I was saying earlier. This is reason we're called the office is because this is out of Anselmo's place of business. In that part of town, they um, they remapped it, and so these places that were actually houses and homes are now places of businesses. And so, what is like the living room and all these bedrooms, like all the walls have been knocked out, and now there are many offices and stuff. And the part of the property that would have been a garage, he kept. Open, and he converted it into a break room, and he was putting in his arcade cabs there. And what is left of the remaining garage, he has a couple cabs in there too. So it's really like we're playing out of a garage, and but it's actually like set up as a little break room. So we decided to roll with it, and that's why we went with the office. We're gonna cap the players so there's enough space. There's plenty of time to get games in and stuff like that. So sign up ahead of time. And if you can't enter, by all means, just let us know. If you're interested. That way we can get you in. Uh, this is, there's these cabs are pretty expensive to not only import but restore. So I don't really feel comfortable putting Anselmo's info on blast like that. So for the time being, we're going to go ahead and drop a link so you can join our Discord, and then we can be a little bit more like discreet about the address because it's a lot of work and money that he's put into this, and I don't want to bring something into it that's going to fuck it all up, frankly. So hit us up on Discord if you're new to the scene. Local players, they're just gonna hit us up on Instagram. That's how they usually follow us and hit us up. A lot of the out of town players from LA and San Diego, they follow me on Instagram, so they usually check in that way. So we can be accommodating to them. But if you're new to the scene, us up anyways. Get to Discord, and we'll get you the address and we'll get you in.
Sounds good. And so appreciate all the work that you are doing up over there in
Thanks to you, man.
Bakersfield.
Appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. Appreciate it. And so definitely hoping to make my way out there again. Been too long since I've been out in those parts. And so yeah, I
Hey
guess
man, it's pretty
that's
much us now at this point.
yeah,
Us and a couple of bars, and then we'll get some
yeah,
good grub in. But
yeah.
if not, I'll definitely see you at the funny.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. And so, yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get out of here. But again, before we do, remember to tune in twitch.tv, Riz1, the final Jazzy ranking event of the season, or not the season, excuse me, of January. And so we're going to have, again, 15 total. So that means 12 more of these events up until the end of May. And so it's going to be a really good show tonight. And so shout outs again to Riz and everyone over at Super Lore Boys. And yeah, we're going to go
It's
ahead
gonna be a
and
sick tournament.
yeah, it's going to be a really, really sick tournament. And so again, tune in twitch.tv/Riz1. Check out some Third Strike to end your Tuesday night. And so again, play Third Strike. Until next time, we'll see you later. Take care, everyone.